I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Patty.
Don.
Here.
Dan.
Here.
Sherry. Here. Wanda. Here. Joe.
Here. Quorum present. At this time, does anybody have a reason to abstain for financial or non-financial reasons?
No.
I have none. With that, we'll take approval of the agenda. I do want to add, I don't know, just very generically, additional items as time allows maybe, but one thing that we were going to discuss was the Gary Vetter, the Director of Department Services title, and kind of what we want to see out of that position. And there might be other just small things.
Where are you going to put that?
We'll just put that, yeah, 8A.
Like a discussion. We're not going to take action.
Yeah, just discussion. There won't be any action on anything today. Any other additions or corrections to the agenda?
You mean other than that?
Other than that?
No.
I know, was it last meeting we were going to further discuss Juneteenth and holidays? Are we going to do that? Or are we going to do that another time?
We will just leave that in that additional items as time allows, I guess. But yeah, I think it warrants discussion at some time. I think maybe schedule something for review of the handbook if there's any additional changes. I know Valley has one that's on Tuesday's meeting, correct? Yeah. So there's some things that can be cleaned up, but that I'd take a motion to approve the agenda, amended agenda.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. This time we'll take public comment. Would anybody in the audience care to make comment? Hearing and seeing none, public comment is closed. And item 5, District 3 Annual Review. Come on forward. How are you doing today?
Button down in the bottom.
Yeah. Yep.
Is that on?
Yep. Welcome.
Okay. You've all seen this report format before. What we basically want to do is review District 3's work activities for 2021, and then talk about some of the things that might be going on in 2022. And hopefully, if there's anything that you want us to focus on, we'd like to hear about it today as well. So the first page just talks about District 3 as an organization. A little refresher on what we are and what we do. The staff directory is listed at the bottom. On page 2 is information on our agency relationships. And we do have a lot of interaction with both state and federal agencies, especially those that are involved in economic and community development. I won't go through those in detail, but you can see that we are very heavily involved in most things that affect our rural communities. Regional service highlights, the bottom of page 2. These are things that we wanted to mention that affect the whole 15 county region. So again, I won't go through those in detail, but you'll see that we had a lot of application work this last year. Our revolving loan fund was very busy. And again, if you have any questions on any of those items, I'd be happy to try to answer them. Yankton County's specific information starts on page 4. The top of the page gives you a little bit of history on your membership payments to us. You were one of our founding members back in 1973. Since that time, you've paid us $790,000 in dues. We've helped you bring in $117 million of outside assistance into the county. That's $148 to 1. So if you want to look at return on investment, I think you did pretty well there.
It's not including the Stone Church Bridge we just got.
Yeah, not counting that
So
yet.
that goes
Yes.
up even higher.
So if you look at the table, that's the application activity from last year. There's still some things that are unknown, but we do expect a lot of the applications that are under review to be approved, or at least to some level. A lot of those are under the new money that the state received for the American Rescue Plan Act, and those will be reviewed in April. But again, you can see there are a lot of numbers there and a lot of activity throughout the whole county. Small business support. Historically, we've made 78 loans in Yankton County. We had 6 loans in 2021, $280,000 of our funding through the Area-wide Business Council, leveraged roughly 1.6 million in private investment while creating or saving 21.5 jobs. Our Small Business Development Center, which is what we host in this region, had 23 Yankton County clients last year. The SBDC is a very good service. It's free, it's confidential, and the lenders like it a lot. Because if our folks do the financial projections on a loan application, for example, and you take it to the banks, most of the time they will accept that. So it's a very good service. And again, it's free and it's confidential. But this last year we had those businesses we worked with invested $2.4 million in their businesses, created or saved 9 jobs. Historically, we've had 830 clients in the county and a little over, well, quite a bit over $51 million in private investment. So I think the fact that we are physically located here makes it a lot easier for your businesses to just walk in the office. Oh, I shut it off? I'm sorry. Technology and myself don't get together very well. Governor's House program, we sold 10 houses in 2021. And I think you probably know those houses went up in price. The state has the same problems everybody else does. Materials are going up. So I think the 3-bedroom now is over $75,000. But for a 3-bedroom house, that's still a pretty good deal. And they also have what's called the Dakotaplex program, which is for rentals. Those are made over in Springfield as well. And the nice thing about Dakotaplex, they do not limit who can stay in them by income. So anybody could live in those. They do limit how much you can charge for rent. So if you're a developer that want to put one of these on the ground, that's fine, but they'll limit how much you can charge for rent. But I think on a 3-bedroom, it's still up around $1,500 a month. So again, they're pretty close to market rates and most people would have no problem fitting in there. Yankton County work activities on page 5. There's quite a long list. I won't go through them all in detail, but if you look at there at any items and have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you. We pride ourselves on working for all communities. So again, you'll see us working in the Gables and the Uticas of the world, as well as Yankton. Starting on page 6 is historical information. You can see where all of the funding went to that we helped bring into the county. We don't make claims on things without being able to back it up. On page 13, again, these are some previous assistance highlights that are non-financial. One thing that you'll notice, most of the grants that we work on, the financial aspect of our office, affects the towns much more than the county. They have the projects. But a lot of the other work we do is directly related to what Yankton County does. So you'll see Yankton County mentioned quite a bit in the non-financial service area. Anticipated assistance for this coming year. We're still helping Yankton with a lot of projects that they're working on. We finally got the Yankton County comp plan information back to you. It's laying in front of you today. And we provided 20 copies of that document so that you have enough for your planning commission members as well. We're going to be sending Gary a digital version of that. So as you amend things or add things to it, it should be easy to do. So that took a long time, and it was partly, there's a lot of reasons for it, but there's still a lot of information that's yet to be updated when the census releases other files. But most of the information in there, if it's estimates or actual new data, is from 2019 on. So it's still fairly, I would call relevant. But as you look at it, if you have questions about it, give us a call. But there's a lot of information in there. I know Don, I think, had made a comment. He got tired of looking at all the numbers. He'd like to see more graphics. So if you like to see things more, illustrated that way, we can help you with that too. But again, I think it'll give you a good jump start on your comp plan. We did take the liberty of adding a section in there on resilience. That term is very common these days. Living in South Dakota, you have to be resilient, but the national government, the federal government, really looks at resiliency as a goal that they want everybody to work on. So we just took the liberty of adding some language in there on resilience in the back end of your document. You can take that and run with it if you want, but we deal with it all the time when we work with federal agencies. And if Yankton County is ever going to be pursuing other federal funds, having resilience as something you're already paying attention to will be to your advantage. So again, that's where that came from. We also are going to be doing a lot of work this summer and spring on the American Rescue Plan Act, helping our towns and maybe to some degree the counties make sure you're doing your reporting accurately, trying to make sure that you don't miss out on opportunities with those funds. The nice thing that they've done with that, and I think you're all aware of it, is in the last version of the regulations, they assumed every government in the United States had at least up to $10 million of revenue loss from ARPA. Now, you went through the calculations when they first came out with the interim rules to justify some of your money. Right now, you don't have to do that. So you can change all of your categories of funding into just that one and just claim the standard allowance, which would cover all of the funding you receive from ARPA. What that does, it permits you then to use these funds for any traditional government service, salaries, equipment purchases, remodeling, anything you normally would budget for, you now can use ARPA funds for that, provided you put all that money under that category. So it's really been a godsend in terms of making this easier for everybody to work with. Now the big challenge is making sure we can get the reporting done correctly, and that's been a little hiccup lately people are working on. So the last few pages of this report just shows you regional information on the governor's house, on PTAC, which is our service that we help businesses get registered with the federal government to do business, the SBDC, ABC loans, and so on. And then finally, our geographic information services that we provide. We are continually trying to upgrade those. We are doing things now that we never dreamt of doing 5 years ago that are helping counties with their property assessments and those type of things. So GIS is going to be growing, growing, growing as a service. And that's something I think that we can save you a lot of money on. So any questions at all about District 3 or what we've been doing?
There we go. I didn't see our application for the FEMA mitigation listed there. So you might want to think about this because it's a big one.
Yep, so we'll add that in. Yep.
I attended the District 3 show, and I touched on it a little bit, but the GIS programs that you guys are rolling out and building in what county? I forget what, Charles Mix, right? Is very impressive, and that's something I think we need to look into. The GIS system you do, it's a lot more affordable, and I think it has a lot of functions that could benefit us in the county. So that's something I guess I would discuss. And if you want to go over that a little bit more,
well, I can have Harry
come in sometime.
I can have Harry come in and he can actually show it to you.
Yeah, I think the other commissioners would really benefit from that. I've spoken with some of our offices, and equalization, I think that could be a real benefit to our county and opportunity to work more with you guys on that. Great. It's amazing that Harry wants to take something like that on, but
well, he has an intellectual curiosity about that stuff and likes to improve it. So, exactly. And we're not shy about if somebody else is doing something that we think we can apply here, we trade information back and forth too with our peers around the state or around the country. And GIS is such a powerful data processing tool. There's nothing that you really can't use it with. I mean, you use it for everything. So yeah, the more you can take advantage of that, I think it's to your benefit. Any other questions? We sure appreciate your membership. I mean, if it wasn't for you, we'd have to move to Tyndall probably. So. Not that Tyndall's a bad place to live either, but I like where I'm at.
We appreciate you and everything you do for us as well.
Well,
yeah,
thanks
it's
for your
been
time.
a good partnership, and we enjoy the support that we get. So, thank you.
Very good.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
What ways do you see that we could improve our usage of your services?
Well, again, one easy way is just anytime you're thinking of something that you're going to do in the county that may involve some kind of data research or might involve some other type of technology that you don't really have access to, give us a call. If we can't help you with it, we'll refer you to somebody that maybe can. But don't just assume we don't do stuff. Assume that we're always available to help you at least understand the topic better, or to maybe actually deliver something in a bit more efficient way. Because a lot of folks don't know, and we're very poor at marketing ourselves.
Thank you.
People already know about us on grants. I mean, we're usually the first people they think about on that. But short of that, they don't have any clue about some of the other stuff. Assuming the legislature now is done debating all of this infrastructure money they're going to be farming out, we'll see what our role is in that. We had a fairly defined role at one time, but now we're not sure what it's going to be. So we're hoping that whatever it is, we can get those resources down to our towns to use a lot of that money for housing infrastructure. It's sorely needed. I know Gayville has a project, I think, kind of on the drawing board. Yankton always has projects. And we want to put those funds, especially in our smaller towns, because they're the places that need some incentive to actually promote development.
Right.
And it's hard. Even a town like Alpena, we've spent some quality time up there lately. And if you're familiar with Alpena at all, it's a town of 280 people, but it has a manufacturer there, Jack's Links, the jerky company, 1,300 employees in a town of 280.
They just had a big expansion too, correct?
Yes, they just put a $50 million expansion on the ground. So they need housing in spades. But again, nobody locally is willing to invest or take the time or effort to do it. So we're trying to make it easier for them. But the same thing applies to towns around Yankton. They can all use more housing. So.
Am I right to assume we've not heard any more from the federal infrastructure bill that's been approved?
No.
Okay.
And I think those funds will flow through the Department of Agriculture and Natural Resources. That'd be my guess.
Okay.
Because a lot of those went into the state revolving fund program.
Okay.
In addition to the ARPA money, the new infrastructure bill, they had a carve out for that too. But otherwise, we haven't heard anything.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Okay, we'll move on to item 6, strategic plan updates. I didn't bring you gave us a sheet and I
didn't bring mine either, so. Maybe we can just make Patty make two.
We get lazy. I assume there's always stuff here.
Copies.
Yeah.
Thank you, Patty.
Did you bring yours down?
Yeah.
You got to buy lunch now, Joe, because you forgot it. How that works.
That's fine. It's Friday. We're fasting today, Dan. So I don't. Good day for lunch.
All us Catholics.
While we're waiting, if anybody wanted to start or go over anything, start discussions, I guess. It's been a while since we've looked at this. I think last time we looked at it, we had checked off quite a bit of things and kind of assigned out some things to tackle. And I think some of those have happened that we just have not reviewed or circled back. So you probably haven't seen any of this.
The last update, I had one for March 2021 and one for June 2021.
Yeah.
So I think June was probably the last time we met.
You're right. So just a filler, we actually had District 3 come 2-3 years ago, and we kind of set some goals to accomplish, just so we're not constantly putting out fires, right? You stay busy enough with what comes at us, and we thought it'd be beneficial to at least sit back, set some goals, overview the county, and so that's what this list is, and we've been chipping away at it, I guess, and adding to it and taking away. So
we developed the mission statement and for the county, because we didn't have one. Vision and mission statement, those are completed. A lot of these, like you mentioned, Joe, look like they are completed or were worked on. I think that's good news.
Thank you.
Organizational chart.
Oh, these are mine.
Did we ever get that?
We'll just kind of go through quickly. We'll start with the red. So it's up in the upper right-hand corner, red is immediate. We want to take immediate action. Yellow was intermediate, green was a long-range plan, and blue's ongoing. So we'll kind of buzz through the reds fairly quickly. Handbook was completed and updated, and it looks like we can do another kind of review of that for a final cleanup. Compensation, the salary matrix has been completed. Organization, that's got my name, and I don't know that I ever.
Are you thinking like that, an organizational chart with
just an org chart? So Paul, we sent all that to Paul, and he put it together.
He did. There's one out there.
I'll circle back on that, but we did do that. The org chart essentially is just so every department, and I guess available to anybody, but general duties of those departments. So if somebody's in your window and saying, hey, who should I talk to for this? Well, you can go to this person, or if so-and-so is out, report to this person. And just so everybody's kind of aware of whose duties are what within the county. I'm going to
change the color on those two, or just mark completed after the others?
I think mark completed or I don't know, do we get rid of? Probably good to keep them on there. I would just mark completed and maybe
like on the handbook, I would say full review completed 2021. And then because it should be fully reviewed at least every 5 years.
I don't know if we leave them red or if they pick a color for completed, or maybe remove it altogether. I don't know.
Add a color for review.
And you can even change it just to blue for that just handbook, because it's going to be an ongoing thing. It's never going to go away, and it will always need to be updated.
Yeah, that's what my thought was, just changing all.
And the compensation goes along with that too. That matrix needs to be relooked at every couple of years, especially with our challenge with hiring people now.
For compensation share costs with Clay Unit, was that, what was that for?
That was if we paid someone to do the study for us, that we would try to go in. So you could delete that verbiage if you'd want. So I'd say we actually created it in 2020 is when we created the matrix. And did we review the handbook? Was 2022 then? I think actually the handbook was updated. I'd have to look at the date on that in 2020. So Gary, you might have to approve
late 2020.
2020, correct.
I'm going to jump down to box 3, vision. a completed vision and mission statement. That's been completed.
I don't envision that being updated often, so that probably wouldn't even need to be ongoing. That's kind of done.
Right. Go to the next page. Zoning. First phase accessory structure sizes, non-conforming lots, fireworks to commercial were some of the notes.
I think those are all done.
And most of those, we did address non-conforming lots. I think we have some work to do there. And we'll cover that in the next item 7 for the agenda today. So that probably can be changed to ongoing, Gary, and get rid of the outcomes or strike them. Maybe leave them in there, but strike it. So then we go to 6, manage the county budget to maximize impacts and collaboration. Bridges and discretionary are ongoing. Cost sharing, Southeast District, Don's name is on that, and I don't remember exactly what. I think part of that was just collaborating with counties around us on various topics, and we have not had a lot of luck. I know we've talked with them on insurance, IT, HR, some of those types of things. And
you know, I think there's a real opportunity going forward there. You were all copied on the Brown County announcement that they would like to create a regional jail where all the counties around them help to fund the jail so everybody can use the jail. And I think those discussions are going to have to start occurring for especially counties of smaller population. The Minnehaha and the Pennington don't have that issue, but we're kind of on that borderline of, we're not a huge county, we're not a small population county, but I think we can look at start the regional approach to offering services. And it's a very difficult discussion to have, especially if you are the county with the lower population, because giving up control is always a concern.
Well, at our 8 county meetings, it's been discussed on several different things, items, and it doesn't, until they're forced to admit that they don't have the money to do it, they aren't going to do anything.
And I think this year and next year will be a tipping point, because we are faced with 5 to 7% inflation, and our budget is going up 3%. And that's every county. And we have to compete with salaries. The last night, I don't know if anybody was paying attention to what the legislature did on budget, but I think tentatively it's 6% is what they're giving. The governor needs to sign it. So that's 14,000 employees in the government field getting a 6% raise, and our budget can go up 3%. So if anybody has a personal budget and you would think, gosh, how would that affect me? It's pretty tough. So I think those types of challenges will bring more folks to the table to figure something out where we can start helping each other to reduce ongoing costs.
I think the other thing, there is a lot of funding out there. And once that really gets vetted and discussed and allocated, there's been requests for facilities within different counties and whatnot. And it may be kind of forced, hey, we have funding for this, but it will be a regional center, or rather than each county getting their own funding for the same types of things. And so I think as that funding kind of unravels, some of this will come into play.
It's also important. We need to be attending those meetings. And I know we've done a pretty good job in our county to build those relationships with the neighboring counties as well. We have an 8-county meeting coming up next week, and the state meetings is where you meet all these people from around the area. And I know Don's done a good job of going to that's where that relationship is built to do that.
Probably the most logical thing would be to reduce the number of counties in the state from 66 to 8.
Yeah.
You can take that one on, Don. I'm not volunteering for that one.
Should we add that to?
I'll work to share.
I would say working.
We'll add that to.
Yeah.
You know, but
Don't
there.
put my name out.
You get gas at Napa Junction, do the sewer district, and then consolidate counties. That's something.
Well,
But I think starting at the 8-county meeting like we have next week and just throwing this idea out there, and you know, we're gonna have to start sometime.
Well, you got small counties that are putting up little jails that are inefficient and
Like
extremely costly, and putting up new courthouses. And
you know, and I spoke with the Walworth County commissioners at our last state meeting, and look at what happened. They tried to keep their jail going as long as they can. They're in big trouble now. Their jail had to be closed, and they got federal lawsuits against them, and it's a bad situation. So I would agree, Don.
So next, outside funding, and there's a few outcomes or items on that. Share your names on that. It's probably should be everybody. FEMA, you know, we've continued to do quite a bit of work with FEMA. That's stemming from the 2019 floods, but working into Stone Church Bridge, and we're involved with it in a road raise study with FEMA right now. I think Mike, especially, Paul's good at grants. We've really worked with Gary Better's helped in District 3 to really lean on using grants first. You know, our first order of spending on a project should be looking for writing grants, finding other monies instead of the county's dollars, and using those to match and maximize our monies. And that's going to lead into 8A commission liaisons on there. And I think we really need to better define Gary Better's position. And I think he's been doing a lot of it, but I think to be fair to him and to the other employees, I think everybody should be aware, and the commission aware of what, you know, that position's duties should be. And I think we can lean on that position a little more, maybe.
are we going into that now?
No, okay. That's just on that outside funding topic, you know, using him to help with some of that stuff.
One thing to note with all the infrastructure dollars out there, I know in the past, the feds have had programs for bundling bridges together. And there is a little talk from what I've heard at the state and higher that something like that may happen again. And I know the timeline is super short. If that's something that we want to try to look into, I know we missed the window last time, but, and Don has mentioned this before, if you don't have projects that are at least partially ready to go, you miss out, because the announcement is, we have these dollars here, who wants it? And I believe last time nobody even applied for the federal, and it went somewhere else. So I think the reality is there may be more of those coming down if we could bundle Fleeg's Bridge with another bridge and at least have a preliminary plan together. We might get lucky. We might not either, but at least we'll have a chance that way.
Okay. On that outside funding, there's the East Side Drive request, just kind of an update. That project has gone through. Growmark their building is right 80%, 90% complete, and work on that road. I'm going to meet with Mike. Sherry and I are going to meet with Mike after this to get some timelines, but work on that road will commence this year. And then there's a smaller project, but a similar situation where there's kind of some requests to improve roads. Don and I had met, and Gary met with Thrive. And so we'll kind of follow that same process, going after grant money, see what we can do there.
Is that for us taking over that road by what? By that, yeah, by is that out by Baldwin? What's the plan with that, Joe? Are we taking that over, or are we giving that away, or what are we doing?
There isn't much of a plan yet, other than we're gonna. I think we're a little early to the game. As that develops, we'll apply for some grant money to finish that road, and
that's to go north to the Thrive property, correct?
Correct.
You haven't just thought about just seeing if they want to take the road and give it to them?
I don't think they want
it. I have interest in that.
And we have to be careful there. I think there's a state law out there that says you cannot give up a road. If it's considered a county road today, I do not believe we can transfer ownership.
Do you know what that law is by chance?
I know Rob was at the meetings as well. So
right.
He's very aware of what's going on, and I don't, but I know he does. And the thing is, there's just a little part of it that's still in transition, so to speak. And so, but I believe Sherry's correct that it's on the county to figure out what they're going to do.
It doesn't mean we have to add to it, but what we've got, we've got.
The next box is 7, enhance county plan performance and adjust objectives on a regular basis. And that's part of what we're doing today. Falls under the chair and vice chair. Review, revise, communicate. And one big thing that was added on there was to celebrate. And we've had a lot of small milestones, but I think it's certainly warranted that we celebrate the Stone Church Bridge application and award. And that's a big undertaking for the county. It's something we've been working towards for some time, and we're finally going to see some progress there and knock one of those 4 bridges off our list. So looking forward to that. I think we'll go.
Joe, yeah. I'd like to make a couple of suggestions if we're going to leave strategic planning.
Sure.
I think we should, number one, go back through these and reassign people according to their relationships now. But I'm wondering if we shouldn't have a strategic plan. Dan, you've mentioned it several times on housing, the lack of the availability of land to build on, etc. On housing, on labor force, roads and bridges, maybe expand that a little bit and get out a little bigger plan, and on economic development. Strategically, those are things that are big things in the county, and I think we should be playing a part in it.
And there's housing in particular, there's going to be massive amounts of funds like we haven't seen before coming in the state. And if we don't have a plan together, we're going to miss the boat on it, Don. And I agree with you 100%.
So that's on there on the second page, the very top. Dan's name's listed there by housing partnerships with City of Yankton, Utica, and Ballin. So that's on there. Would you like to change that to a red dot?
Yeah, and I think it needs to be expanded. I think we should be looking at what we as a county can do strategically to make housing more available.
And Don or Wanda, and if either you would like to work with me on that, I certainly use the help. I know the city with their new announcement for Manitou. I was talking to a few of the city commissioners the other day, and they say it's great, but where are all these people going to live?
I'll give you an example. We've made it quite a few years without having assistance in cleaning our house. So a week ago, we invited a lady in to look and see and talk, and at the end of the conversation, we hired a cleaning lady, and we also, I believe, have rented out our apartment in our basement because she has a son and daughter that are living in Lincoln and want to come to South Dakota so bad, and absolutely cannot find a place in Yankton to live.
Yeah, it's a real problem. There's we've had a housing issue for some time, and now, you know, over the last 2 years, we've had an influx of people from out of state wanting to live here, and it's just compounded that on top of material prices and land availability and building site availability. So,
and you know, part of it is restrictive rules, and some of that is on our part too.
That's on ours.
And we've, I think, done a good job of trying to address that. Rural transitional right next to the city of Yankton. Does it make sense to require 20 acres? And we've rezoned some of those voluntarily, and I think that's good, but I believe more could be done.
So regarding, you know, what can the county do to encourage that? Is that strictly going to be another ordinance discussion, or is there any other ways we can work on that?
Some of it will be discussed in our list that we've got.
Yep.
On proposed ordinance reviews. But a strategy, I think a strategic strategy would be, we want to assist in the development of availability of the housing, and the operational step is to review planning and zoning to see what changes we can make to make it more reasonable for people to be able to obtain property.
Right.
There may be half a dozen steps that we could do.
One area I'm in initial discussions with, talking with the city about, is if anybody extraterritorial jurisdiction, if the city would be willing, and that's on them, but if they'd be willing to move that out a little bit further, so the city zoning would take precedence over county. I think that's a win for everybody, because if we do a housing development right out of city limits that follows our rules, it's very difficult for the city later to come and incorporate that. Whereas if they have a hand on the steering wheel initially, it may not be within the city, but when that does come incorporated, it's an easier transition for everybody.
Fire is one of the easiest ones to identify right off the bat on that.
What's that?
Fire.
Yeah.
Fire.
So I'm going to move along. I do think it's warranted to go through the yellow dots and see what needs to be moved to red, and then real high level will touch on green and what maybe need to move forward. At the end, we'll take suggestions on anything else that really should be added. So if we go to the first yellow dot, it's under Elevate County Service Performance and Personnel Management Practices. Sharing is on there as a yellow dot. And I think the intent there is more collaboration between departments. And I feel like we're seeing more of that. You know, we're having regular department head meetings, and that seems to be helping.
Could that one be eliminated? Because we have collaboration down on the third paragraph. If that's what that means, consolidated and, or make
that could be. I think there are some doubles.
I guess I see good collaboration. I mean, I think that's progress. I don't see any glaring examples of where that's not happening.
So is the top one more internal and the third one more external, county between city?
That's what I'm wondering if one.
Because if you look at vision, roads, and collaboration, well, roads, not everybody inside the county deals with roads. So I guess that's how I view that, is a little bit more between entities.
Either way, it's important, both internal and external, but I do feel like, there is more collaboration going on, and we'll continue with department head meetings and try to promote that, and that probably should just be ongoing, Gary. I-7.
Well, do we want to rename that collaboration then? Would that be internal collaboration or external collaboration?
Yeah, I think change that to blue. I-7, and maybe it should be sharing, internal. Okay. And then box 3.3 collaboration, maybe that should be external. Effectively engage the public in collaborating organizations in addressing county service issues. Directory. Patty, you got to sign that. I don't know if you ever knew that.
No, I didn't.
Directory, communication, resources, and information are all highlighted there.
I think a lot of that has been resolved with the updates to the website, and I've heard a lot of great comments, Valley, just so you're aware. People are able to find what they need when they come here, so
I was going to say communication too. I believe we talked about, how do we communicate with the public and get that out there, and Valley's done a good job of
Facebook, YouTube, streaming those. I haven't heard any negatives on that. I know people really enjoy it. If they need to find a department number, it's available. If they want to watch a commission meeting, it's available. So in that regard, again, celebrating success, I think a lot of good work has been done there.
Yep, I would agree. We're kind of forced into the Zoom meetings, and that's been a positive. I think there's more people that watch these meetings at home than we realize. Yeah. And it's a good thing to just have that information out so people are aware. They don't, when you read the paper, you get a couple highlights, but if you see the full video, you get it in context.
Maybe we could possibly consolidate this a little bit in communication with the public. I mean, that would take care of information and the directory, and maybe shrink that down a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say just turn them blue, but they're all kind of similar, and I think we've taken some steps.
Yeah, communication, information, resources, directory. If we all just maybe shrank that under one, because it does similar.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. If we go down to county transportation system planning development capacity, most is ongoing, as should be. We've got a yellow on townships and then on opportunity.
And I would leave the yellow on the townships. We did complete the inventory of those bridges for the rural access infrastructure fund. We are awaiting our share of the next 3 million. The first share was 36,000 to do the inventory. We're hoping we get a little bit more, but I did just pull up, and there was a bill to continue funding that program at 10 million a year for another 5 years. It got changed to 5 million a year, and then it got changed to $1. And this morning, after last night's, they went through the budget, it's at 25 million again, which means 5 million a year for another 5 years beyond this next year. So that I think we need to leave that on there, because we need to set up our system where they understand their filing deadlines. We have to get through our first, awarding them, because it's on us to award the money to the projects and to figure that all out. So, you know, we may even want to do that a red dot under townships.
I agree. That should be red with that note for rural access infrastructure fund.
One thing that other counties do, I know Brown County and Beetle County and I'm going to say Cottington, they have annual meetings with their townships. I know we've talked about it, but I don't know if we've ever like fully committed to maybe if there's a time in January annually, we can invite the townships in at either a regular meeting or a special meeting, and who wants to show up can show up to go over some of that. I don't know the best time to do that, but other counties I know do it, and it's something I think we could benefit from, more communication with them. Okay. Yeah, I think that'd be a good thing.
So I think, again, to tee off this, the plan was to have a meeting as soon as we understand our allocation to meet with them, because we are waiting for the forms from the state association. I sent them what we had kind of put together for what a form would look like. I got some feedback on that, but we're waiting for that just to make sure that they understand they've got to have a 5-year plan. Their bridge has to be on the 5-year plan. It has to be on the inventory. These are the filing deadlines. So there's going to be a lot of work. So I think having a meeting this early this summer will be to our advantage. Right. And then going forward in January of every year, we're going to be disseminating funds. And so that will certainly be a meeting of all of the people who are applying, et cetera. So
this program essentially sets us as kind of like how the big grant works.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just not at the state level. So there's going to be dollars allocated to the county, and then we will be responsible for distributing those to townships. They're going to have to apply similar to how we applied for big grants. And so I agree. You know, we did have the township meeting for the initial review of this. I think Sherry's right. Yeah. When the information comes, we'll set up another meeting to kind of go over guidelines, get some feedback on. Yep. We want the process to be as simple as possible. There should be no reason that it's cumbersome to request funding.
And I've been sending out the updates. They did change the dates associated with this program. They did not change the levies. So that information has been shared with all the townships. There's 1 or 2 townships that don't have an opt-out in place. And they've been advised if they want to qualify this year, they've got to have something passed by July 15th. So that, and I'll follow up once the governor signs, if she does, all of this money, I'll make sure that they understand that's out there. But when you think about it, the big program, I think the state only allocates $15 million to that every year. And this would be $5 million to this program. So it's not insignificant by any means. And again, I hope we get a bigger share of it than we did the first time.
Okay. So we'll go with red on that, emphasis on that rural access.
Have a good day.
Moving on to the second page.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Wanda just gave me a note that she had to leave unexpectedly because she has a client that's dying. So,
okay. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Opportunity. I would just make that blue. That kind of fits in with a lot of what we've discussed, grants, collaboration, and just.
I know, you know, townships obviously still important. Something that we're going to need to address at some point too is some of the infrastructure in the lake area. And I recently met with some individuals out there. Deer Boulevard is, I think, at or exceeding the capacity it was designed for. So we're going to have to sooner or later have a conversation about what we're going to do with that. The amount of growth that happened out there is unbelievable.
Well, we've got the study
Sure.
scheduled.
Yeah, I know, but just, I'm putting that out there. So we don't for. Okay, maybe we could put a note in there, prioritize, and just put lake area / Deer Boulevard, just because the next time we're going to meet might be 6 months, and it's easy to forget that stuff. So as long as we have that on there, then it'll be there next time too.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So drainage, that can be marked completed, I guess. Blue, I don't even know if it'd be ongoing. But
has the drainage board met since we did those changes?
Yes, we had to have a meeting because you have to meet every 6 months. Would we meet in January or February?
Yeah, we had a meeting.
January, yep.
Minutes, but a true meeting, it's been since last May.
It's almost a year.
Yep.
Which I think is, I think that's a good thing. I think it means that the process works better than it had in the past. Individuals can come in for their permit. They don't have to wait, 60 to 90 days to get a project completed. And the feedback I've gotten, which isn't a ton, but it's just that it is much more simple anymore. I've talked to several contractors in the past, and they had said, what's wrong with Yankton County? It's impossible to get a drainage permit around here. And that's changing. So
the only question I would say, and this is up to the board to decide, but if they're just meeting once or twice a year, would it be better that the commission sits as the drainage board? Because the reason I say years go
we
down,
are the drainage board, but not the drainage commission.
Yeah, what I was saying is when people were meeting regularly, it's better, if we're not meeting very often, when we do start having vacancies, it's going to be a lot harder to fill. I would say, it's great to have that different perspectives and things like that, but that's something to consider moving down the road.
I agree with you, Dan, that the more infrequent you meet, the less kind of interest you're going to have in that. My hesitation of having the commissioners in that role is that we have no idea what the commission is going to be comprised of going forward, where the drainage board typically is going to be comprised of people who have an interest in the drainage of the county and maybe a little more knowledge. And so they can better advise, I guess.
So I'm seeking to clarify. I don't know if I'm following. Are you saying to get rid of the drainage commission members?
No, I was simply saying, does it make sense to have another level of bureaucracy if it's only meeting once a year? That's what I'm asking.
So essentially to get rid of the drainage commission?
Well, not necessarily, but I'm asking, does it make sense?
Well,
to have a board that meets once a year.
Yep. So if you review our drainage ordinance, there are several styles of projects that require the drainage commission approval and those that require the drainage board approval as well. So sometimes the drainage commission can meet, and I don't think it necessarily has to go to the drainage board. So there's a couple levels in there. And so it's certainly before we'd, consider that. I hate to have a meeting just to have a meeting. And we are not experts in drain tile, other than unless you put it in. So I think that's the plus of having the drainage commission, and people who volunteer normally have some experience in that area, and they make, I hate to say it, probably better decisions than we would make. So, I tee off on Joe. I think the process is working better because the letters go out and people are notified. And if there's no concerns, the permit is issued, and that certainly helps to move the process along a little bit faster, more efficient. So,
well, I think we've made improvements. I know there's always that debate. Are we going to have any county involvement in drainage at all or not? And that, I would say, should be ongoing as different counties experience different things, and you know, there's pluses and minuses to everything. And so we're, I think, constantly going to need to evaluate that.
Gary, was that the last state association meeting where we asked, where they had the legal presentation and they advised counties just to get out of the drainage completely? And I know a lot of, and I don't know if you're aware, Deb, that was 2 years ago.
2 years.
Sioux
Falls. And I guess, Deb, from the state's attorney perspective, I mean, what would you recommend? How I understand drainage, we can't do anything more than what the state can do. And that's the presentation that guy made. He said, if counties are in the drainage business, my legal advice is get out, because any lawsuits go to the county. And luckily we haven't had any, but eventually.
Well, and all those discussions were brought in. We reviewed that ordinance and had the Drainage Commission weigh in heavily on that. And
well, I'd like the state's attorney, if they would be willing to look into it, because I know Brown County, was that Brown County state's attorney who advised him to just get out of it altogether. And if we want to stay, that's fine, but you have to.
And we did, to Joe's point, we went through this whole process, and in the end we decided to keep our drainage ordinance. And that was a year and a half ago we had that discussion. There was a county in the northeast corner that the commission revoked it, and the citizens petitioned and they kept it. And there's been a county that they revoked it and it stood. So I think every area is different, and in 5 years maybe we should have this discussion again.
Yeah.
But I think it's been so soon since after we already had it and hashed through it and we took public comment, and I don't recall anybody coming in and saying, yeah, we need to get rid of it. Because I think what they liked was it was notification, the project was occurring, and there was input from the neighbors. If there was a concern, then we discuss it. If there's no concern, we proceed. Mm-hmm. So it's a way to try to keep people out of court to some degree.
And I can certainly, I added it to my things.
Sure. No, I'd appreciate your guys' attorney's input on it.
Yeah, I think we make it blue and we continue, like Sherry said, we just revised it. And so let's, give it a little bit of time, and it may need more revision. It may someday need to go away. Just to kind of be devil's advocate regarding litigation or lawsuits, if to a sense, we should just get rid of the entire ordinance, if that's the concern.
Yeah, the zoning
in
plain
general.
You're making a motion, Joe, because I might second that.
Comp plan, we've got first revision in front of us today, so everybody put some time into form fit function of that.
Should move that to red.
That should be moved to red. Thank you.
Gary, did you get an extra copy for our office?
He gave us like 20 copies. So tracking. What is tracking?
See if
land use planning processes and rates. Oh, was tracking GIS layers?
This is 5.
I believe it's more GIS layering for I think at the time one of the things that was brought up was CAFOs and setbacks within each other. If I'm correct in the tracking, we've talked about it, but we need to be tracking medical marijuana dispensaries and possibly someday recreational dispensaries, and making sure the setbacks are according there.
Yeah, Valley and I found the one from Pennington, which is like an overlay. So I know, Gary and Bill and I can talk about, because I really would like it probably posted on the website so people can see before, and not come in and claim, well, I didn't know I couldn't go there. I mean, we came close to having one. So I definitely think that's something that I think we would have to do it with where the county applications are, and then once they're approved by the state, and change that. And then if they're not approved by the state, take it back off again, because then that would open that back up for a possible difference.
Sure.
That's something we can probably do with District 3 GIS and create some kind of layer for it.
I think so. So that, like I said, that can apply to, I mean, the world's our oyster as far as what we want for layers there, and you know, housing developments within the county, and you know, that might be a good layer to just see where population densities and things are. So
I think we need to contact District 3 and have Harry Redmond come in and give us a proposal for the new GIS system that he talks with. I know I visited with Gary and Department of Equalization, and they're all on board with
and I think,
looking at switching from Beacon, which is more expensive, to the new system that District 3 is just, it's just amazing. And I think that would go into having better layers and all that. It's going to be a process, probably a year or more to transition, but if we can all get on the same page, and if that's what we decide we need to do, I think we could move toward that. And it also deals with online building permits, I think, are involved in that. And it seems like a pretty good system. So
do you want to contact?
Yeah, basically, we just have
Jessica's working on it.
Yeah.
If how we want to move forward. I mean, they just use our data currently, so they're just recreating our data on the system, and so we got to decide whether, you know, District 3 is going to end up doing some more mapping. Do we just want to have them complete the system and do the online permits with that all?
And Gary, if it's okay with the rest of the commission, could you set up having Harry come in and give us a presentation? Because I know I saw it at Mitchell, and he can go through it, and it's amazing. It saves money. It's a better system in a lot of ways. There's really, the only downside is it might take some time to be built and implemented, but the sooner we start on it, the sooner.
So Don and I were at that meeting too. So we've seen it, and I know Jessica has a plan.
Yeah, but she's also wanting to, that's where we need to approve that we're going that way so that she can start moving that way. It's up to us to decide, are we keeping Beacon, or are we going to go to other systems? So it's on us to do that. And if you could say, if the commission's okay with it, we'll have Gary invite Harry Redmond from District 3 to give us a presentation.
Yep, I think that would be a good thing. Okay. So if you want to invite him, and we'll turn that to red, I think.
For tracking, and then could we have as a note a new GIS system with District 3? Is that okay, Joe?
Yep.
Right. Thank you.
Processes. I gotta use my memory here. Improve land use planning process. I think processes in general was permitting and
I think you've taken care of that a lot.
Making it easier for people to
go
through the process and know where they're at.
Right. We should not be here as a roadblock or even a speed bump as far as permitting and processes. And, you know, you don't want to cut corners. Let's say drainage again. You don't want to cut corners. There's a purpose that there's a drainage commission, but we need to make the processes as seamless as possible. I would just turn that ongoing. That's going to go along with like the township funding. That's something we should just constantly strive for is and then sanitary. I think we can, I suppose, go red or yellow on that one. We began that process and that study.
Well, we've done a fair amount of inquiry in the last 6 months, and right now it looks to me like it's gonna be pretty tough to get much done out in the lake area.
I believe some.
Change it to green to long range.
I would say so.
Okay.
I think some state laws are going to need to be changed. There's an opportunity. There may be some sort of summer study with the legislature, from what I've heard on these types of things. We're interesting in Yankton is that we're the largest area that's dealing with these situations, but there are smaller developments like that with existing housing, but nothing.
All we need is for the state or the feds to come in and say, you can't use drain fields out there anymore.
That might be happening.
Close them down.
Yeah,
and
it could happen.
You know, it's going to come to us.
It's happened in other communities in Yankton, and we look at all the, you get the emails, you guys get the emails of complaint after complaint with septic systems out there. It's irresponsible for us to think that we're going to be able to keep going like this forever. Something's going to have to change.
Okay, well, we'll continue to monitor that, wait for that study to come back, and we'll go from there. We jump down to mental health. That's going to be, in my opinion, an ongoing thing, but I think yellow probably fits it. There's some activity, and I know, Don, you've been working on.
I go every month constantly. Every week.
working on the mental health aspect.
For a note there, I know the commission is supported, but I think we need to continue to support Doc Stanage and what he's doing for the community, because at some point that's probably going to be moving forward, I hope.
Well, if you mean, are you talking about the new hospital?
Yes.
And, yeah, I guess it's the key is that the $6 million of funding, and the last time I talked to Tom, which was at the last Cracker Barrel, he said it was still looking like it was good. Now I don't know.
Okay.
Did you?
I'm not sure which bill it's associated with. They did $8 million but it looks like pediatric stuff, so I'm not sure if that's the one or not.
In Yankton?
They didn't have a location.
Yeah, well, this was $6 million.
Yeah, so I don't know if it got in or not.
So I'm gonna just keep the thing moving. Touch quickly. The next one is a green dot insurance, and we've done some changing of providers in the last couple of years, looking to try to save some dollars on the overall insurance. There is talk of state supplied insurance, and so I want to keep that as I don't know, do we go yellow on that? Or?
I think so. I did follow up with the gentleman who presented at our meeting over in Tyndall, and I offered to be part of that conversation if they put together a team, because I think our county would benefit a great deal to be able to join their program. So, but that's going to take legislation changes. So I would think hopefully they'll talk about more this summer to have the legislation ready for 2023.
Okay. So we'll maybe turn that yellow just to kind of highlight that it changed and keep an eye on that.
This is where we need to work with our district and our state association for something like this, because they have the contacts that we here at the county don't have. That's the only way it's going to happen.
Okay, I'd like to move forward with the ordinance unless we have any last minute updates on this. Okay, let's move on to item 7. I'm going to find my email with that on.
Can we take a 5-minute break?
Is that motion?
Yeah, can I move for a 5-minute break?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? 5-minute recess. Convene at 10.
They're not there.
Okay, get a motion to come back into regular session.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We're back in regular session. So we're gonna go through some worded ordinance change proposals, but what we really want to do is just kind of identify and prioritize some things that have been on our radar for quite some time. You know, again, we won't take any action on anything here today, but I think it's something we need to prioritize and set up a plan to move forward and get these things done. Gary had sent out a list. I don't know if everybody has that. I sent it out February 25th.
Is that the one that starts with swimming pools?
Yes.
And this was your list and Bill's list. That one that starts with swimming pools.
3 different ones.
3 different.
It's a,
yep.
The Dan's proposals, like commercial lots, Sherry's proposals, and then our things that citizens have questioned.
Right.
And then you made a combined list of all of them.
Yeah, then you combine those two.
Where's that?
oh, am I looking at the wrong one?
Could we get some of those printed
Here.
off maybe, or?
There.
One.
Yeah, one.
Just combine this would be great.
And the 2 sides.
Let's see. Planning Westford.
What we talked about between Gary and I on this issue was to take this combined list and review it with the planning commission.
Mm-hmm.
We asked them to provide input and we got 0 input, right?
Right.
Not a person replied. But I feel like it's important that we go back to them and say, this is your ball game. This is your park. I don't want any bitching down the road. Are these items that, and are there any more that we should add in?
Right.
And we've kind of scheduled that for the next meeting, but that's 3 weeks from now.
Okay.
Sounds good.
And maybe we can tackle this in a way too that, you know, there was a couple complete articles that were talked about possibly being revised. Maybe we could start there as one thing too, is do we want to prioritize that article, the whether or not if we do anything with the highway overlay, or if we do anything with the telecom stuff, or, you know, those kind of things, the towers.
What I would envision for kind of this prioritization is a couple of phases, and there's, like you said, there's going to be a few whole articles that need to be addressed. So I think we need to prioritize which ones we want to start with, and then come up with a plan of implementing.
Right.
I think there's also, I would like to go through the individual requests.
Definitely.
And
yeah.
just, and this is all important, but I'd like to do it in a fairly timely manner. But anything we come across on there that we mark as, I'm going to say, non-confrontational, that's kind of a no-brainer. Yeah, let's fix it and move on. Let's just identify those. And personally, I would like to see that list of these no-brainer changes to all be grouped together and gone to planning and zoning for a discussion and pass and get that done.
Right.
Get cleaned up. And then the next is to tackle the higher level, say an entire article that we prioritize. Does that sound reasonable?
Well, there are a couple pretty critical areas that you wanted to address. One being the issue that we had a couple of weeks ago about the planning area, the housing area out there by the lake, where somebody wanted to come in with the apartments or rental out.
Airbnb.
Airbnb.
Yeah.
Did you did you get that? There was, I guess, a Supreme
No, that
Court.
might be confidential.
Yeah, they all got that. Yep, Rob looked at it.
Yeah, we both did.
Okay.
And honestly, that's just in relation to if there's covenants that prohibit it, but that isn't anything that the county does.
Okay.
So that case had no implications.
I guess the question that I guess I would have for you guys, if we turn it into a CUP, because it's kind of bed and breakfast, I think is a little bit different than an Airbnb as far as a bed and breakfast is, you get food there, whereas Airbnb, you just rent the house. And my concern is how many Airbnbs do we have out there that are operating that we don't know about? And if
you go on Airbnb, there's quite a few.
Well, but okay. And then how do we say it? Do we call it Airbnb? Do we call it short-term rentals less than a month? And then how do we regulate it if we want to go down there?
So I don't want to get into the weeds on any one topic. But regarding that, I would probably first is look at the definition and see if we can encompass everything, including modify the definition. But what I'd like to do, if everyone's all right with it, is I'm going to just start at the very top and label them high priority. And that, to me, a high priority is going to be something we should address very soon, but it's going to require some discussion. And then I'm just going to call them no-brainers that we all can sit here and agree, yeah, let's just get this done. And then
about a high, medium, and low.
High, medium, and low type.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So, and that's what we talked about when I called this week and suggested we sit down and do that. But it's.
Are we going off?
So
this?
We're going to go off of this one. Okay. So how roads are built. Personally, I say this is high priority. It's probably going to need some thought process and discussion on.
Have Mike involved with this for sure.
But I think that's a high priority, and I would add this to the. Not to complicate things more, I would add anything in here that we do high priority probably should be added to this first round. At the planning and zoning level, I would say if it gets into it where it gets hung up and it's not just, okay, we can figure this out fairly soon. I'd set it aside, get our first round done, and then add this to an ongoing.
I think we kind of intend on not having any of those.
Okay.
They probably will occur, but.
And we have a definition on the half dedication thing from the city too that can be incorporated.
Yeah, so we should be able to do that. So I'm going to put high priority. Be a problem.
Would this be in the subdivision ordinance?
Correct.
This would be Article 28, right? Is where you want
let the planning and zoning figure that out.
High
priority.
I'm not worried about the numbers.
Extend building permits one time for 6 months. I assume that's no fee would be just a one-time extension. I would put that as high priority. I think we've discussed that enough where we think it's needed.
The only question I would have is it our responsibility to contact the people whose building permits expire, or is it on them?
Well, I think that's what we want to write up and have approved by this group. Am I right, Gary?
I just don't want to I don't want to put it on Gary's plate that he has to call 20 people a month and tell them.
Well, that's three. But
the one thing I would say,
we want to come to you with proposed changes,
right?
And you decide if you want to change them, we'll change them.
The one thing I'll note on that is the online permitting process. When we started down that path, we were, and I wouldn't say promised, but the hopes was that we could automatically, being all that is digitally tracked, there would be an automatic email generation that would go out to the applicant. Now, a lot of those applicants are Bill.
Yeah.
When people come to the office, so there isn't that feedback, but I would say we explore that further as a separate.
We need to leave the responsibility on the applicant to come in, because if we don't get an email out or somebody writes their email in wrong and we don't send it out, and they don't get it. Now, guess what? Well, you didn't tell me my building permit was, and that used to be in the zoning ordinance.
Let's just get these high.
Yeah, let's just prioritize. Yeah, we're in the
first.
weeds here. Operating CUPs expired after idled for 5 years.
I'd say low.
Low, okay. New CUP expires within 2 years if not acted upon. I'd say that's high. That's state law now, so we should match them, high priority. Cleanup of non-conformance section. To me, that's high priority. And is that, whose list is this?
It's mine.
This, is that in reference to like how Brown County?
Just in non-conformance.
No,
we updated the plane. You know, you can continue to be non-conforming. You just can't extend the plane.
And that may not have gotten taken off. This is my ongoing list.
Yeah,
so I copied it. Go ahead.
I think as a high priority, we need to address non-conforming lots and the setbacks therein. That's down here. That's okay. Gary's got that on the list here. So I'm going to cross that one off. Top one off. Okay. Shouse, I'm going to say low because it's going to get into the weeds on a major polarizing discussion. Not that it shouldn't be addressed, but in the first round, I don't see that added in. Lot sizes and setbacks, all zones, medium. Minimum quorums for Board of Adjustment.
I think she's just referring to the NOM change.
We
need to do that as a high.
Yep.
That has to get in there.
That has to do with the majority and the 2/3 voting, and that all does need to be done.
With that, in that discussion, I might suggest adding alternate votes for Board of Adjustment members. It's very rare, but we all know that wind potentially is coming. I think there's been a situation in counties where enough of the board members had signed NDAs with the wind company.
They couldn't vote.
And then they couldn't vote on the project because they were landowners that were affected by it. And technically you can't pass. The project couldn't be passed. So
I've had that happen in the past.
Yeah, so I think just
name some people.
Assigning some alternates or something should be part of that discussion or a process.
Okay.
So telecom article, that's going to be on its own, and we'll circle back to prioritizing entire articles. Comprehensive plan update in process. Wind is going to be an entire article. SB 157, and then that's what we talked about. CUPs expiring, voting requirements, etc. So high priority to that. Amend RT to correct manure reference to 519.
Yep, when we updated 519 and changed all the lettering and numbering, we didn't update. There's a reference to an old number. Okay. So that just needs to be, that's easy.
A high priority, no-brainer one. Evaluate RTCUP allowances. Should we add options?
That's low.
I would say low to medium. I honestly think we need to long-term get rid of RT altogether and turn them into mini ag, light commercial, etc. But so that'll be a low. I'm flying through these. If anyone disagrees with it, holler.
The only one I didn't get is high, medium, and low on the wind article.
We're going to circle back on the entire articles. Okay. Lot sizes has been discussed as a medium priority. I'm in the next section down. Commercial going to from 2 acres to 40,000 feet.
So these all have to do just lot sizes.
Lot sizes, setbacks, 50-foot front, 20. So that's a lot size and setback.
We've just been running into a lot of these lately because of the cannabis issue. And there's a lot of people wanting to go into these commercial lots that are small. And so
this, you know, the setbacks, especially in commercial, I would throw as a high priority. And if we dip our toe in the water and it looks like it's very polarizing, just pull it back out and cross it off the list as high. But I think especially the frontages,
right,
in some of those commercial lots are unobtainable.
Yeah, because you're aware of the one on the East Highway, and you know they're wanting to add on to buildings and things, and there's not a lot of room. And,
I guess the reason I'm seeing is we get a lot of variances for, like you mentioned, for commercial. This would help us be more business friendly. I know Turner, one of those counties, I think it's Turner, doesn't even have a minimum lot size. It says as long as you can meet these setbacks, you're fine. I think that's more helping business friendly businesses.
So all those are going to just go in the medium priority with lot sizes and setbacks. Again, if it looks like,
well, one of them,
especially commercial, is
maybe some of these, if we're doing lot sizes, it may be kind of a no-brainer. I know it's down here a little bit further, but some of these, and I mentioned before, we'll say 1 acre or 40,000 square feet, but they're not the same thing. It's, one acre is 42 something thousand square. So just have it as one, and I would refer to the lower one. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer, I think, and that's an easy, non-controversial pass on some of these, is just go with the smaller of the two. And I think that's an easy lift.
I think you're right. That's going to get into the weeds, because what I'm going to say is I think the acres should just be marked as reference, maybe, because it's even the 20-acre thing we need to kind of review. If you have a 40 acre and you split it into two 20s, there's no way in hell you have two 20-acre lots.
And you're not going to start out with a 40 acre.
That's what I mean. So it should maybe refer to quarter sections and 8 sections, or
because we've had the issue where it's 38 because of right of way or something.
Right. So I'm going to put that as because I can just see the discussion now. I'd say medium priority, but maybe change them all to reference or something right now.
Okay.
If it's, again, if it's going to halt progress on the rest of them, pull away and move on. Okay, eliminate Article 27. That's going to be an entire article, and I'm going to stop you, not to be rude, but we don't care about points at this point. We're just caring about prioritizing. But is that the 52 overlay?
The only thing I would say was Highway 52 overlay. Anything important should be combined into Article 11.
Yeah. Not a bad point. We'll talk about that a little more when we get to just the articles. Low dense. So this is going to be medium priority with lot sizes. Again, same and same.
Yeah.
Okay. Swimming pools, I assume that's eliminate from a CUP.
It keeps coming back, and there was some discussion in the past about, well, isn't that more of just a personal liability for those people if they choose not to put a fence or something around it? Do we need to be involved in that process? So
I say
the question is just eliminate it, or?
I think we've discussed it about 10 times, and everybody's always said get rid of it, and we just haven't done it. So put that as a high. Airbnb, to me, if we can easily address it and not hold things up, move forward with it. So I'll put that as high, but
there's one again right now, so that's why
we've had
it keeps coming up, and
we've had a couple people come forward with CUPs just because they want to secure their investment and they don't want any issues in the future. But
and And I can look, because I'm going to be honest with you, the use of your property is, I mean, an Airbnb is not a bed and breakfast. A bed and breakfast is an operation, it's a business.
Sure.
An Airbnb is just you choosing to rent out your property to someone else. Has nothing really to do with zoning.
No, where it comes
So
into play though is the citizens, because in this particular one, there are neighbors that are concerned about it. So
change that to medium, because I can already see there's going to be more discussion. I think the Airbnb and whatnot has kind of changed the rental world.
Oh yeah, there's tons of them.
We're not the only county that's looking at this, and others have probably written regulations. So maybe we find something and just copy it.
Like that, if you also just after today want to email me and say, hey, this is one, please look at.
Sure.
I will compile a list and I will find out, because it could be a simple fix.
Right.
And then I could just say it isn't even something you need to break.
Right. So. Okay. Thanks, Deb. Highway 52 overlay, that's on the previous list. So we'll discuss that here in a moment.
So it's probably a low priority.
Campgrounds.
I think that's the ongoing
gonna be
septic
I'm gonna put that as medium
issue, and yeah,
it's not gonna make this first round, but medium. One thing I said, I'm not getting in the weeds. One thing I am wondering if we just need to change that definition that a certain percentage of lots must be daily camping rates, or only X amount can be long-term. So anyway, that's going to be a medium.
That would be another one, Joe, that I think some research on how part would be beneficial.
Okay, I would appreciate that. Egg accessory structure versus accessory structure.
We changed that in egg on this last go around, but RT still has it stated that way. So
okay. High priority, I'd say just match what egg.
Yeah.
Screening definition, bushes allowed. We changed that, didn't we not? In Article 5 at least?
Yes. That was a discussion on the Airbnb this last week at planning and zoning.
Was it? High, medium, low, or
campgrounds too, yeah.
Well, I think it goes along with probably Airbnb, so I'd put medium.
Okay. Manufactured homes, 1507, number 6, 20-foot wide versus 919, 14-foot wide. That's pretty easy fix. I don't know the details on that.
That's really a big deal.
It is.
That's a huge deal. What's going on out by the hop farm? They're putting in those. I don't know if they're trailer houses, but
it was a trailer park, and now he's putting in a lot of their camp. They're campers that are a lot of them coming from up North
Dakota.
Yeah, but from the oil fields.
They're all narrow. So this, if we're going to 20 feet wide, are we saying those aren't allowed anymore? I don't know.
Well, I think, yeah, we just need to decide one size or the other, or, you know, and I don't know, I guess I was fine with the 14 myself, but
low price.
They kind of,
but I think it's low.
Kind of remind me of going through Auschwitz.
Having
there's a line just boom, boom, boom of the exact same thing.
I think they're kind of looking for that park model thing, but okay. All complaints must be in writing, and that's stated already.
Well, we get a lot of anonymous, and we get a lot of just verbal, and they assume something should be done, but yet they don't want to put their names to it and things. And
It's in the process, like so there's a form you have to fill out.
Yeah.
To get a hearing for the Board of Adjustment.
Okay, so we can,
I'll
put low priority. That's
I
something
think
that
that's low,
can
yeah.
be discussed, but
Yeah.
Okay, 2703, no residences versus Lakeside Commercial and Commercial CUP. Is that in the Highway 52 overlay? I suppose?
Yeah, I believe so. I think that was Bill's note.
Okay, so we're just going to loop that in with that discussion.
Highway 52.
Yeah. Signs, 1401, number 20.
I think we can take that one out.
Just strike it from the whole.
Yeah, because that was taking, Deb took care of that one.
Okay. Right. CUP expiration, we covered that already.
It's a variant stays with the land.
Variance stays with the land.
So does a variance expire?
Shouldn't. It should stay with the parcel.
I guess the only I could see is if you are requested a variance for a building and you never build the building. So variance expires with the building permit.
Yeah.
So that would be with the CUP. I have a COP for a wind turbine. It's 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't expire right
This has
now.
been an ongoing conversation. That's why it's on the list.
Well, it would as of today.
And that might be another one for legal to dig into a little more.
So I could see merit in adding clarification that a variance expires when the building.
Is that a high then? Is that an easy one to do?
I think so.
I can add that to the research like Barry just said.
Okay.
Look into that.
All right. So I'll add variance as a high priority just because I think that'll be a simple one. Utility easements addressed in plats and developments.
What does that mean, Gary?
I think there was some question on whether this is another one of Bill's that whether they should be showing utility easements on the plats, which have never really been done in the past. I have no concern about it personally, but it's like they should be researching those lots regardless.
Because
so.
the easements are typically just filed with registered deed,
They're
but not
just
necessarily
recorded.
drawn on. Yeah,
exactly.
How did like Brown County and other places do that?
No, they generally didn't put the easements
So
either.
I would scratch it
yeah.
myself. Bill's not here to defend it, so
yeah.
if he feels it needs to be brought up,
yeah,
we can
I'll
look
let
at
you
it
know.
Lakeside commercial and commercial add accessory structure to permitted use. Any concerns?
We've had to do a number of those. Adding like a CUP as an unnamed use.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like that they should be able to add an accessory building to me.
I think that'd be an easy.
So high priority, easy one. Accessory building definition, subordinate to the main building. Define main building. Is main
that's
building
not, that's just a matter of a definition. I think that can be high and knocked out.
Okay. Discrepancy 1505 and 1525.
With campers.
I'd have to look what that one is again.
I think it's a different definition.
Okay, I'm going to move on, Dan, if that's okay, as you look that up. So drainage ordinance, notified drainage administrator or planning and zoning administrator, not just county. That looks like pretty straightforward. Just, I think, verbiage on notification is what I'm gathering is the request.
Right. And so, I mean, that's a separate ordinance completely. So that probably can be lower priority too.
1505 and 1525 deal with the definition of campers or camping units. And there's two different definitions.
Okay. Deb, if you can tackle that with the other campgrounds. For now, I'm going to put that as what do we put the campgrounds? Medium. Pre-zoning lots, non-conforming. Okay, so that is one like how Brown County.
Yeah, that's
handles.
like the egg and, you know, these small 3-acre egg lots that
So
Lot sizes.
yeah,
I would like to make that a priority myself because we constantly run into it.
we do.
If it's there again, to me, it should be fairly straightforward. I would say on like what Brown County did, or no, was it Brown? Brookings. Sorry, Brookings County. There's an alternate chart if the lot exists prior to zoning, and so it's smaller. Let's say the 1 acre lot in an ag district, the setbacks are this, and there's a table for those setbacks. And I think we need to have reduced setbacks for existing non-conforming lots in ag, commercial, probably lakeside commercial, probably everything. But they're east of town off 50. There's a ton of commercial lots that are less than an acre, and you literally cannot build on them because there's a 100-foot setback and a 75-foot setback, and you could put a pin in the middle of your property.
And there might be a floodplain running through it too.
Now there might be a floodplain, but so I would like to see just some reduced setbacks that make sense for lot sizes of that. Again, where we won't create new smaller lots, but anything that's been existing, let's just skip that variance process and say this is what.
To me, that's what the variance process is for, though.
But if you have many and many and many of them, you have to address it.
Request for the same situation, just fix it.
What you're talking about is, okay, Brookings County. Brookings County's had zoning since the 70s. And it might work for Brookings County because they don't have the amount of lots that we do. We have something, we have over 800 lots in ag alone that don't meet the 20-acre requirement.
Give me a situation where it hasn't been approved outside of when Sherry or I have voted against it, and then we get ostracized for doing so.
I don't understand what you're.
At 120.
Every one of those that since I've been on the commission that's come forward on a smaller existing lot, that variance request has been approved, except for if Sherry or I or both of us have voted against it, and then we get ostracized for voting against it, and we're holding up economic growth in the county.
Stick to your guns.
Fix the ordinance.
What I'm saying, okay, so you're gonna change this, but then no other variances ever.
That's the plan. Dan, remember when we met with the city?
Realistically,
Dan, do you remember when we met with the city the first year we were commissioners? And they talked about how they changed their ordinance and fix everything, and they rarely see requests for variances and almost never offer them.
They've had a few lately.
There's a few coming up again.
You
so
agreed with that process, said we should fix this ordinance so we never have variance requests or very few.
But I think
that's the goal.
What I feel is reducing the setbacks and reducing the minimum lot size takes care of that as well, which is also what the city did.
Also, we redid Article 5, and you held strong that 20 acres, you would not go smaller than 20 acres. So how are we going to reduce the lot size?
I said that I would stay with 20 acres as opposed to an ag right to farm covenant.
We're going to move forward.
So we'll have something written up for you.
Exactly.
Then you can attack it.
Yeah.
All right, leave it as a high, please, because it's constantly in front of us. Setbacks, is that setbacks?
That's non-conforming setbacks. I think that was all supposed to be one line. I think,
So that'll be the same. Half road dedications, that's been addressed. 120 square foot of unpermitted.
Yeah, so the questions come up a number of times on 1721, whether it was intended to be just 120 because there's a 1-1, I think is the way it reads, versus we don't need a permit for, I don't care if they put 5 of them or 10 of them on, as long as they meet their setbacks and stuff. I don't see the need for a permit for that, but it's up to
an issue.
We discussed that at length when we talked about when we made accessory structures of a certain size, a CUP. We talked round and round and round about that exact topic.
Yeah, that was before my time.
And
so
I believe it should be a total square footage of accessory structures, but not everybody does. So I'm put that as low priority.
Yeah,
we went through it.
I just
Makes
scratch
sense.
it because is it an issue? Does somebody have 10, 120?
Well, no, I think it's an interpretation though of, I know Bill had concerns about telling them that they could do as many as they wanted versus just doing one.
I know the city,
because it says one. I think currently
the city allows as many.
Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't. I just assumed right away it was as many as you wanted to do, as long as they all meet the setbacks. And
yeah, I'm fine with that. ETJ does not allow city to make decisions on everything. County still regulates signs.
Yeah, we've had this discussion with the city and we'll continue that discussion. But yeah, for some reason, signs fall on us, even though most everything else falls on the city. So,
okay. Low priority, keep the discussions. Non-conforming lot setback. Okay, we covered that.
Yeah.
Nauseam. 40-acre parcels that lose an acre or two to right of way.
Yeah, we talked about that.
1725 legal challenge.
Do you want to leave the lose one or two? Is that what priority you want to put that at?
I think that's a high priority.
I think high. I think we can maybe put reference or something as of now, and then when we discuss lot sizes on their own, that can be something to address.
Yeah, the 1725 thing was the rewording and wording. That was like the first thing that happened when I started here. There was a discussion that Mr. Donahoe said you can't go by what the title says versus what the paragraph underneath it says.
Oh, but that's all with expirations and things, correct?
Yes.
So that should be high priority, easy, because as we address the expiration of CUPs and extension of building permits. So.
Okay. I hate to tell you this, but I think 97% of them are high priority.
Well, and I think a lot of those though should just, we've talked about them over and over. It should just be.
And to resolve that, I think part of our and I haven't discussed this with Gary, but part of our recommendation should be a procedure that whenever any of us or Gary or planning and zoning wants to look at a change, they should fill out the form, like requesting to come to the county commission meeting and hand it in, and it comes up within the 30 days.
Sure. And I do know, anybody at home, in our ordinance, it's written that way. There's no form or a procedure, but anybody can bring proposed changes forward to the plan and get on the agenda, go to the planning and zoning meeting and propose changes. But to your point, maybe a procedure might be a better, come up with the process. So
some of this is 2, 3, 4, 5 years old.
Yes.
Or longer.
I'm going to, as a medium priority, task planning and zoning, or even Gary, if you want to come up with a procedure to bring forward to planning and zoning that.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, now we need to circle back to articles, entire articles.
You want to finish the list?
Is there, am I missing? Oh, sorry, missing some. Update to CUP voting covered. More conditional uses in RT has been covered, and PUD plans are missing. Yeah, that's a.
So we only know of one PUD where the plans are missing. Is that
well? Right? I don't know. I wouldn't say that necessarily, but I think we've already had some discussion on how we can approach that, whether we have the HOA bring in a new plan, or if they don't have an HOA, then maybe we have to go to a secondary thing where it has to meet R1 requirements or something to that effect.
Maybe R2 would be better because they're a little bit.
Whatever their surroundings.
Yeah, most of those they're at least 5 acres or more though for RT. A lot of most
when
of
they
them
start.
I'm gonna put low priority.
The individual lots are huge.
Okay.
I'm gonna put low priority. I think it should be something fairly simply addressed.
I think we can do that administratively, to tell you the
That's
truth.
what I'm thinking. So my vote would be default to HOA. If there is no HOA, then we govern by the surrounding zone, whatever zoning district it would fit.
The last one that's came up that's new that isn't on this list is we've been getting a lot of questions on the Wildwood Drive area. I mean, those lots are pretty much useless now because of the floodway. And so the question has been raised, do we have any plans to possibly mitigate that area or like the Chris Road area where they really can't do anything on them anymore, or they're starting to ask about the 14-day camper thing that's on 1505 and whether that's just 14 days a year or they can just keep getting permits for 14 days at a time I think the intent originally was just you could have one if you were building a house. Sure. And then, otherwise, but I don't think we want to get into where we're monitoring how many days people are having their campers on a residential lot.
No,
that's my feeling.
And that should all be part of campground discussions and whatnot. And I don't know. Now the city has done some mitigation of lots that are in the floodway now.
Yeah.
The house behind me got tore down and I don't know where the funding comes from and compensation for that.
Well, there's hazard mitigation grants and stuff that can be looked at, but you do have to make sure you provide the the benefit ratio versus, potential loss. And so you always got to prove that that's going to be, and we can do that with the GIS to work on those kind of items, but I don't know if there's interest in that or not at this point.
Well, but a lot of our lots that we're talking about with the floodplain had the potential to be developed, and now they aren't. Whereas with the city, those were existing built upon lots that have been raised with FEMA dollars and gone back to green space.
Because since it is on the river, they just, can I just bring my camper there periodically and just can't use it as a camping lot then? But
is it RT? Or is that the R3 out there?
Yeah, I think it's R3 out there. But
okay, well, that's going to be low in my book, I guess. So I'm going to circle back to entire articles, and I think we just have 3: Highway 52 overlay, wind, and telecom. If it was up to me, I would probably say telecom, wind, 52. I don't know what.
I would agree with that.
And I guess my reason is that I think telecom will be fairly easy-ish as far as controversy. I think wind is going to be a deep discussion.
Yep.
And we probably need to start that sooner than later, but I like to get the low-hanging fruit, I guess.
2 of us have already worked on that somewhat.
On the
way back
telecom,
when,
on the
telecom. And so I have that draft we had from way back when.
I've had some communications with Hirschman since then too, and they're willing to, be part of those discussions, and they fully are aware. I said, take it with a grain of salt. you know, we're providers of towers, but they see and probably know more about that industry than we do. And so
the other reason it's probably less controversial is it's federally regulated.
Right.
So there's only so much
we can do.
Because the federal regulations trump anything else.
Right.
So.
And just for in the back of people's minds, I'm thinking we kind of split that into mini cell towers and your big towers, because we're going to see a lot of these mini ones with dollars coming for rural internet. So I think they should be handled differently. But
how about the towers on houses? Where do they fit in?
They fit in on your house, and I don't care about it. That's
well, we had a big.
So Joe, like you're saying,
boo-hoo on that.
Yeah,
if you remember.
Oh yeah.
So you're saying you know the big huge 400-foot towers, like I think those are maybe even a thing of the past from what I'm hearing, and that's a lot of smaller ones nowadays. Separating them then to a huge 400-foot tower was going to have a lot different rules than a 100-foot one or 200.
That's what I'm thinking, because and we'll still have the big ones. They're going to have macro sites and the mini sites, and these mini sites take all your cell phone data from an area, and they help channel those speeds increase, and then that all gets sent to your macro site but anyway, that's
I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of huge towers, so I would have to agree with you, especially the monopoles are a lot less intrusive.
But your mini sites are probably more open to county regulation,
right,
than your big ones,
right?
Because the big ones are the ones that federally they want to regulate. What you do with the smaller ones is going to be more zoning.
I would agree. And like the one out by the lake that was last year, that's extremely controversial. People don't want towers in their backyard, but we're going to see more of that. So I think
you forgot one big one too, comp plan. Where do you want that in the priority of things?
Oh, comp plan.
Probably be at the top.
It needs to be towards the top and kind of in parallel, I think, with.
Well, any rezone you do has to be in compliance with the comp plan.
Yep.
Or any zoning change for that matter.
I do foresee that as a large undertaking. I mean, it's no offense at all to District 3, but they've been working on this for
52 years.
52 years. And so
well, we had like what 7 to 10 promises that it'd be here, and
this is
took a while.
This has got to be, is there page numbers?
They don't have them page now.
This has got to be.
The old one was 180 some pages. This one's probably less than that.
So this one's pared down from that, but it's a large undertaking. We're not going to get that changed overnight. So
no,
I think I would like to see the high priorities.
Yeah, I think we can do those all at one shot and
then telecom, and then wind, and then 52 in this comprehensive plan. I would like to see completed somewhere between either the high priority and the telecom, or telecom and wind, somewhere in there.
So what do you want to see when we bring this back to this group?
Something we can say, verbiage. Yep.
Well, I would say if we're going to be smart about it, if you have notes and direction, you need to give that to the planning commission, because we've been there before where you say planning commission, take care of it. And then when it gets here, well, that's not what I wanted to see. And that's not fair to them. That's one of the reasons I think we've had a big turnover.
That's why we have it on the agenda
and the planning commission. So we need to give them some guidance on what we want to see and send it to them.
I think on high priority ones, between our discussions and Gary's, I would like to see something 98% completed, we could probably hold a joint meeting that shouldn't take long, where everyone does their homework before the meeting. On our end, we show up. These are specific items we want to look at or change back, and here's the final version. Two meetings.
So how about I just do like we have been doing? Basically, I'll redline the various high priority areas. Sure. with what we probably want to be looking at, and then just get it to planning commission and county commission and go from there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think if you put it kind of together.
I think so.
So a starting point.
That'd be the easiest.
Okay. With that, we are past 11, and Sherry and I have to meet Mike at 11, but I do want to quickly, we got item 8 first. Local government boards and commission website. We kind of,
I think it's just an FYI that Valley's doing it.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Do you want to come forward real quick? Because you started utilizing that website. It sounds like there might be some
so I started entering all the commissioners onto the website, and then it had an error. And so
this is a statewide website.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And so it'll show Yankton County Commission. That's how I entered it. And the city has Yankton City Commission, I think, on there. And yeah, so I started entering your stuff. I got through yours, started entering Sherry's, and then it had an error, and I haven't gone back to it since we were going to discuss it here. So
okay. So everybody's aware there's a state-based website. So all information from counties, cities, whatnot, school boards,
yep, everything
look the same. It's one place to go to find all this public information. So I think it's important we use it or try it. I don't know if we just, I don't know.
I don't think it's required.
It's not required.
Started that at the AG's office though, so I was kind of surprised when they all of a sudden came out with this.
Right. So I would say we continue to move forward with it. Just know that it's not going to be our sole source of information for some time. And at some point it might end up, I think the goal is that that's the sole source of information for everything.
If we are using it, we need to make sure that we post agendas on that, so people don't think that if they go to that source and we don't have an agenda on it, but we have it in our other website, I just keep it as up to date.
Yep. So my plan is to just make it part of my routine on Fridays. I'll post the agenda on our website, and I'll put that on the other website as well at the same time. So
thank you. And
just give us feedback if it's a terrible website or a great website.
Okay. Sounds good.
One more thing.
Sure.
I just want to say thank you for all the work that you do at all of the county meetings, and you do a great job of keeping the website and agendas and the packets and the videos. And I, from myself and probably the commission, I appreciate what you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna give you a round of applause. Thank you, Valley.
Okay, on to 8A quickly. And again, that this is important, but it may take 1 minute. And if it doesn't, we'll have another discussion. But I think there's been questions on what Gary's role is, and not just Gary, but that position, the development director services. Does anybody have questions up from the commission on some of his duties? I'll tell you right off the bat, he in no way, shape, or form, in my mind, is supposed to fulfill any HR duties. And I think that's been, I don't know, questioned or concerned from some of the employees. Is he doing some HR stuff? Should I go to him for certain things? I would say no. I think that position should be there to maybe help collaboration between departments and be communications, but not personnel issue necessarily.
What may I suggest that we send out the job description, and at the next meeting we discuss what's on the job description.
Perfect.
The next meeting.
Yes.
Talking about county commission meeting.
Yes.
So we'll do that not this March 15th, but April, what is 5th? April 5th. Okay.
Now, are you ready to quit?
If everybody else is.
I want 30 seconds.
You got it.
And then I want 30.
You got it.
GOED sends, I attend monthly meetings, the governor's office, and they hand out some information, and this is just good to hear information, make you feel a little bit better. Site Selection Magazine named South Dakota second in the nation in projects per capita. Sioux Falls was also recognized, falling to the top, leading the metro's population 200 to 1 million. They're at the top, number one. Sioux Falls was named America's most affordable place to live and work in 2022, according to Good Hire. Sioux Falls also ranked as second most affordable housing market. Yankton and Madison has just been awarded an $80 million project for expansion of an industry. The unemployment rate in the state has not been calculated for January yet, but it was at 2.6% at the end of December. I think we've all heard that. But the labor participation rate in South Dakota is 68.5%, which is tied for the highest rate in the nation with Nebraska. General fund receipts for fiscal year 2022 continue to exceed last year's receipts, up to 93.1 million, 7.8%. Some pretty good things going on out there.
That's good.
And it's all because I think everybody's trying to collaborate and work and make things grow.
We've got a little more common sense in this part of the country, I think, to make things work. Thank you for that information, Don. Okay.
What was that company?
It was the GOD.
So the only thing I wanted to mention was at our
governor's office
at our last meeting, Patty handed out the ARPA fund disbursements to date. So I took that information she sent out and I typed it into a spreadsheet. And below that second line, everything in italics shows what we have committed to radios, what we committed to PPE, and the stipends for employees. So when you get to the figure with the box around it, that's the unallocated portion of the 4.4 million we have left. Because last year we did disperse last year that 1.3 in lost revenue. So that's the number we have left. Now, if we choose to pay our employees' salaries out of that figure, we can essentially pay quarter one, quarter two, and leave us with 153,000. And if we want to wipe the fund, we can essentially use July funds.
and the balance of that is the general fund.
The balance, whenever we swipe it out of there, goes to the general fund. Now, last year,
gives us the right to do roads and bridges.
and that's what we did last year, was we put pavement down and we budgeted an extra $1 million in pavement this year for those funds. But I wanted to show you that's what we have already committed, and then what we have left.
And we could put those, rather than going to salaries, we could put them to the different roads and whatnot, but it sounds like it's much cleaner to just say all of this funding is to salaries, and now our overage on the budget that would have went to salaries can go into whatever we want, no questions asked.
Because if we do it to road projects, we have to use federal bid laws.
Yes.
And it's twice as much to do the road then. So that's why.
Makes sense.
That's it.
Okay.
That was my 30
Go
seconds.
get my 30 seconds.
I suppose.
All right. Doing a little research. I know we didn't vote to approve Juneteenth, but doing more research. It's my opinion. think we should just follow the state schedule. 47 out of the 66 counties already do that. So we could put it on the agenda coming up. I think that would be best. Talking with the department heads, some of them have difficulty with their systems when the state is closed and we're open. We have employees that customers that come in and want to do something at equalization and want to do something at the treasurer or one of these other offices, and it can't be done if we're open and the state is not. So I want to put it on the agenda that, you know, we just follow the state schedule.
Okay.
I think that's easy because the vast majority of counties do that already.
So you think effective immediately?
Well,
you have Easter, Good Friday coming up.
Well,
We already have Good
Yeah.
yeah.
What
And we can put a
is-
date on it, but you know, I think we need to discuss it because it's coming up. And my opinion is we have had some turnover lately in the county. This is something that doesn't cost a whole lot to the county and it's good for retention. So,
well, we'll put that on April 5th. I put employee vacation schedule or handbook, but it's something we'll need to amend the handbook to do.
If we have something else for the handbook too, we'll just put it all together.
Yeah.
That's
just
on
amend
this
it.
coming meeting, 15th.
Do you want to just put it on there or wait till April?
You have time to put it on there?
We'll discuss this next Tuesday, March 15th, because we've got employee handbook on there, correct? Yeah. Okay.
So move.
second.
All those
Aye.
in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Meeting is now adjourned. Thanks, everybody.